You're listening to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast.
Hello mates, welcome back to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast, and today we've got a bloody treat for you. We are joined with our dear friend and the very talented voice actor, Ivy Dupler. How are you today, dear?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Lovely. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course.
We're here for you, Ivy.
Oh, and there's Nana. Yeah, hi guys.
We're always here. It's no big deal.
I'm here for you guys. This is fun. And glad we can make it happen, finally.
So Ivy has been in some really cool things. I mean, you've got a Marvel credit in your IMDb, which is impressive, right? That's like what the thing to bloody be in these days. You've got Marvel's Avengers Academy, you've got God School, you've got Loveland with Hugo Weaving. But based on the genre, the title of this podcast, the games that you've been on, 3 of which are just bloody mint, and I've honest to God played and loved 3 of them.
Yay!
Which was Whispers of Machine, Lamplight City, and Unavowed. So for our listeners, go check them things out if you haven't already, and you'll hear her lovely voice there as well. And I guess I'll kind of start us off, Ivy. I guess the most recent one that I played was Whispers of a Machine. Was that the most recent one that you've completed?
It is let me think. Like, what's out now? I'm fairly certain that is, little things here and there, but as far as, like, games of this genre goes, I would say Whispers of Machine is the most recent project I've completed that is currently released. Yes.
Okay, so that's a yes with an asterisk mark.
Yeah, sorry. It's a lot of things, in a good way, a lot of things going on. But yes, that one is out, it's here, it's good.
Yeah, that game was really cool. You played Vera England, I believe?
Yes.
Right on. So I was wondering, just to kind of get the ball rolling, like, what's kind of like, if you could paint a picture of like behind the scenes for us as far as doing voice acting for a video game character, some of the things that we don't see that goes on, as far as like direction and, I was even curious, like, how many days does it take, going in and out of a studio for a few days or one day or just so some of them things, if you wouldn't mind enlightening us on what it's like to do these things behind the scenes.
Totally. So for Whispers of Machine, I actually voiced the protagonist in that one. So Vera is the player character, the protagonist of the game. So that was by far the most amount of work I've ever had to do for a single game. So that took a little over 18 hours total to record all of Vera's lines. I forget how many there were in total, but it was a lot. And you do each line minimum of like 2-3 takes, some more if you're having trouble getting it. But yeah, and that was broken out over a period of 3 days. Ideally, it would have been closer to like 6 days, but other commitments, etc. We broke it into basically like 6-hour working days. So it would be like 3 hours in the booth, an hour break, 3 hours back in the booth, and then I'd take so I did it like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So like Monday, 3 hours on, break, 3 hours on, rest day, 3 hours on, break, like that kind of thing. And I was fortunate enough that I worked with Dave Gilbert from Wajidai Games for that game. So he didn't develop it, but he was the voice director for that game. So by that point, we'd already worked with each other for Unavowed. So that was, and he's also like one of my like personal close friends. So that was a nice experience, and that we're very comfortable working with each other. And the process was basically I'd just show up to the studio every day. I'd be nice and most days buy him a coffee, even though I would not drink coffee because caffeine's not great for you when you're about to record. I don't really know why, but they say don't do it, so I didn't do it. So, and it was also another dumb fun fact is that we recorded that over like probably the coldest week I've ever experienced in my life, like barring when I lived in Boston. It was so freaking cold that week. It was horrible. So I was really afraid showing up, like, oh god, I'm gonna like sound terrible or whatever. So just had to like leave all that outside. And I was also fortunate that when we recorded that game, we got the big booth, or at least I did. Everyone had different recording schedules. They were doing some renovations at the studio, and for some reason, at least when I recorded, I ended up with like the biggest booth they have there. It was like absurdly large, like the largest. I had to wear my glasses to be able to see the lines, like they were across the room on a giant monitor, which was great. So I could really like emote and stuff like that. But which came in handy for all the WALA, which refers to nonverbal, not nonverbal. You know what I'm talking about. What am I trying to say? Non-word noises, you know what I mean? Just all the noises.
Nailed it,
like,
yeah.
okay, yeah, like now you're getting electrocuted, now you're falling off a building, now you're dying from a gunshot wound, now you're slitting your wrist.
I haven't done any of those recently.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant in the game. I was like, oh, spoilers. Or in real life, yeah, it's a lot. So yeah, so that was kind of fun to have that physical space to play with. But but other than that, I also was crazy and I insisted on standing, recording everything. So it's funny because when I've mentioned before that it took 18 hours to do, and it'd be like 3 hours, then a break, then 3 hours again, that kind of thing. People have asked like, oh my God, your voice must have been so tired. It's like, not really, because I saved all the screams and yells and all that stuff till the very end of the last 15 minutes of the last day of recording. It was more just my back and my feet that hurt from just standing there and just like saying things. But yeah, it's fun because a lot of people don't realize, I think, that for most professional games, when you record them, you're very lucky if you get the script like a day in advance. Like for Whispers and for Lamplight and Unavowed as well. All those I got the script a couple of days in advance, but the script for Vera was like, I think if not done, like hundreds of pages. It was long because they gave me like the whole game, everything to like understand and stuff. So, you know, you don't go into it being like, I have my performance down. This is memorized. Like, no, you should show, like, ideally it's good when you have an understanding of what's going on. But for a lot of games, you don't even have that luxury. It's just all code names, code name character, code name game. Like, you don't know what you're doing day of, and you know you have to rely on the director and your skills with sight reading as an actor to interpret like what's happening here. And it was extra interesting with Whispers because you know the director didn't develop it. The developers are in Sweden, so there were moments sometimes where we'd come across a line or something like that where it's just like I would have a question like, oh, is this meant to be sarcastic or sincere? And then it might be, you know, Dave might be like, oh, I don't know. Let's try both, like that kind of thing. And there were moments where sometimes, like, you know, they allow you to play with the script sometimes. So it could be like, you know what? I know this is written as this, but, you know, you and I, we feel Vera wouldn't say that. I don't think she'd say that. So you know what? Making a note. We're going to try it this way also. You guys pick what you like. You know what I mean? And you could tell. It's like, oh, it's interesting always to hear, like, what takes they went with. So it's nice. It's like a nice... I don't know, it's not like you're showing up kind of like, okay, like, say it exactly how I want it, bye. It's like, no, both the director/developer should be open to your interpretation as an actor, but you also should be willing to listen to direction and their vision and what they want. So it's like an interesting balance, and it's a very, like, collaborative kind of thing to sort of make that character come together. Not always would I even have the other half of the conversation. It's already a luxury if they actually give you the scene, so you can even see what the line is in response, because that, especially for stuff like Whispers, where not only is it the protagonist, she's a detective, it's lots of questions. So, like, for certain things, you know, we do different takes on certain stock lines. Like, if you played the game, you would know that, like, there are a couple of murders you're trying to solve, so it's like, one of the characters who was murdered is called Carl Oscarson. So, like, numerous times you ask people, like, did you know Carl Oscarson? But I had to do it different ways. So it'd be like, did you know Carl Oscarson? Did you know Carl Oscarson? Like, different reads on it. So it's like, it would make sense if, like, we're having a conversation about Carl. So then they'd use the take that's like, did you know him? Versus, like, if someone goes, hey, what's up? And you go, did you know Carl Oscarson? You wouldn't open it with, like, did you know him? It's like, that sounds weird. You know what I mean? So for certain lines like that, we do multiple takes on them and things like that. I'm pretty certain, if memory serves at least, when I recorded Lamplight City with Francisco Gonzalez, I'm fairly certain he said lines. He would, like, run lines with me. Like, he'd read the line and then I do the response, that kind of thing. Pretty certain that happened with Lamplight. I'm trying to recall. Pretty certain. Which is a nice luxury. That's like the first and only time that's ever happened. So that was cool. But yeah, for the most part though, you're just sort of relying on your own intuition. And, you know, if like I'm sure this didn't exactly happen, I don't believe, with Whispers, but I feel like if I were to have said something so off, it's like, you know, maybe Dave would have been able to recall because he's directing everybody like, oh, actually, we're doing it more in this, you know what I mean? And there's definitely been moments with stuff, because a lot of things I record are remotely. I do them from home, not in a studio, sometimes not even with a director in real time. So I'll just get the script, some top line notes of direction, maybe some like little notes for certain lines, like how they should be said, do it, send it back. And there was a project I did that for where the guy wrote me back, the director, and he was just like, oh, you know, this was great on this, thank you, except I should have been clearer because, you know, the intensity you had at the start of the scene, you kept it throughout. But actually, by that point, you know, the guy with the gun already shot it, so the tension's gone. So actually, can you redo the entire second half of that? Because you're, like, shouting the lines back to him while he's speaking very calm at this point. So redo. It's like, oh, okay.
So you mentioned that you like to stand up to perform. Now, I used to sing a lot as a kid, and I'd always want to be standing to sing because I felt I could get the most range. Is that sort of a part of why you stand as well?
Yeah, I've heard you don't want to crunch your instrument, as people put it. And I just kind of got used to that, and I always record in my little closet, which is like the size of me, so I can't sit even if I wanted to, huh? Like, a lot of that. And I've just gotten used to it. It feels more natural. I don't really do audiobooks, but I know a lot of people I know who record audiobooks prefer sitting, which makes sense to me. It's like, oh, it's like, you know, you're just like, you know, you're reading. I get it's also like a test of endurance when you do audiobook stuff. So it's like, makes sense to want to sit. But especially when I'm doing things for video game stuff, it's like I want to be in it. I want to literally be on my feet and like in the scene kind of thing. It just helps. It's like a mental thing as well as the physical thing with like not wanting to crunch your instrument.
Being able to emote correctly, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like last night. Me and my son were mucking about with Indiana Jones: Fate of Atlantis, and while I was playing it, as I clicked the wrong location over and over again, and Indy's like, you know, I don't, one of them adventure tropes like that don't fit there. Well, they don't talk like that. That doesn't fit there. I don't know. You can't do that. You know, all those like adventure game lines.
Yeah.
What was that like for you, having to say those specific lines that any given player will hear 1,000 times, you know, throughout any adventure game like Whispers? Like, you know, that doesn't seem to be working. Like, do you give it like 10, 20 tries each line? How's that work?
Oh, that was one of my favorite parts. That was in some ways my favorite part of recording the game. My favorite part, like, I have my actual like actor answer of just like, oh, the emotional scenes, because that was my favorite. Like, from that standpoint, I got like very into it. But my stupid favorite parts, in a fun way, stupid favorite, were all the, and this is like related to that, like all the observation lines. Like, there's a line where you see a lemon plant, like a little lemon tree in your room. And Vera, you click on it and she just goes, nice big lemon. And I'm like, I love this. Like, that's totally something I too would say out loud to myself in a room. I truly would. That one, and healthy looking plant. When you click on a plant, I'm like, I love this. So much so that I've been streaming on Twitch and I put little like sound alerts, and I clip some lines from the game. And one of them that you can like play on my channel as I'm streaming stuff and spam it with is just nice big lemon. Because
that's awesome.
So I love that. I was like, all right, I like insisted on doing that multiple times. Like, I need to give this the care and attention it deserves. But as far as the like, that doesn't work lines, those were fun for me also because I'm a huge fan of the Nancy Drew game series. Like, that's honestly kind of what inspired me to go into voiceover in the first place when I was a kid. And if anyone's ever played those, then you know that the line that they, like, the same recording, the same freaking wave file they use for like games 1 through 30 or whatever, is her going, it's locked, like the same one over and over again. It's amazing, and it's like quotable. It's good. So I was just like, that's hilarious. I hope one day I too could have my own it's locked. And then I became a detective myself in a game, and it happened. So those were fun to do. It's extra funny when I played the game myself for the first time when it came out, and like, even though like I played it on stream, and I just kept like laughing at myself until it stopped being funny, because I was just like, this is sad now. Like, I literally, they gave me a walkthrough. I didn't want to look at it. And also I recorded myself saying the solutions. I don't remember them. So a lot of the times I just like ended up berating myself on the stream, like my own voice. So like, I remember the big one, There are a couple, but the one that sticks with me from that game was that doesn't seem productive to me. And it's hilarious. So like I'd be watching other people play it, or I'd be like, I don't know, can I use gun with lemon tree? That doesn't seem productive. Okay, I get it. I suck. I'm bad at this. Stop. So that was kind of fun. And it was also funny to creep on streams of people playing the game on Twitch sometimes when I'd like lurk, and a couple of my friends played it. And I would feel bad because they would like not be progressing, and then Vera would just berate them and be like, "Shut up, I get it." I'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like it's me. It's not really me. Sorry. So that was fun to record, just having played those games. I know how frustrating those lines are. I'm like, I'm savoring this.
So shortly after the game, did you like go around the house like harassing your boyfriend, saying that doesn't seem productive to most things you would do? If not, it seems like a missed opportunity.
I've quoted Nice Big Lemon like 1,001 times. And then some, and he's done it as well. Like we go grocery shopping, like just for some reason that's become like the meme line. That, and also if you played Unavowed, I was very happy in Unavowed to discover I was like the meme character in that game, if that makes sense. Like if you played it, everyone who's played it and has done the Staten Island mission, they've all like called their YouTube playthrough or stream on Twitch or whatever, like It's a Tragedy. And I was like, yes, because I voiced the cop in the game, not Vicky, but Joy Harrison, the like evil cop in Staten Island on the boat. That one. Just like, it's a tragedy. It's just a tragedy. Like that one. I was just like very excited about that. Like, oh, I get the meme line. So I find myself like quoting those in dumb ways and annoying my boyfriend with it. Very fun to do.
I just love the notion of you berating yourself with insults to yourself as you're playing these games. That's bloody mint. I want to ask you about other games and projects, but I have one more for Whispers that I gotta ask.
Yeah, for sure. I love talking about it.
Especially, I recently played it. So every time you've quoted Vera, it's been like. It's been jarring. It's surreal hearing you say the lines, because you go into like Vera mode and you just you say the lemon line. It's like, oh my god, like I just played it. It's almost like gives you chills. Line. Like, oh my god, that's the thing. Do the thing.
Yeah, thank you.
It's really cool. But so that being said, I think a unique and really awesome aspect about that game was the way that you play the character. You can develop choose your own route as far as who Vera is as a person. So for the listeners who haven't played it, an example would be, depending on your approach and reaction to certain things, you can become empathetic or aggressive. Let's stick with them for an example, I guess. What's it like, playing the same character but displaying different, emotional responses to the same questions?
Sure. That was a really fun challenge. Partly a challenge because when I got the script, it's not like they put in parentheses next to the certain lines, that are like personality dependent. Like this one's assertive, this one's they did not, to the point that there was one line in particular, because the game actually just had its 1-year anniversary back in April. On the 17th, I want to say, because I thought it was the 16th and I was wrong, which makes me think it was the 17th. Or 15th, so I streamed it and I called it the 1-year Anna Vera survey stream, because yeah. So I did that, and the developer, or one of the developers, Clifftop Games, was on the stream for a bit, and I was talking about some of the lines when I was like to record them, and there's one moment early on in the game where you're talking to this electrician, like she's a worker on a power line kind of thing, and you're asking her like, oh, can I enter the museum? And she's like, no, because like there was a electrical problem, I'm fixing it, you can't go in, like all the stuff. And you get 3 choices to respond to her, and one is meant to be the logical line, which is like, what caused it? Was it a power outage? Or like very like straight to the point. One was supposed to be the assertive one, which is sort of like a sarcastic-y line that was like, will there be like, I forget it. It was just like, will there be like mild, will there be like a tingling senses as well? Like I prefer my electrocutions followed by like an intense bit of burning or something, like kind of sarcastic. And then what was meant to be the empathetic one, as it was written, just said electrocution. That's funny. ! So when will you have this fixed? And when I don't have, like, I mean, I had direction, but like I didn't have, okay, Ivy, say this one this way. When I saw that, in my mind, I thought the one that turned out to be the assertive one, which was just the, oh, will there be sensations of this? I prefer it to be with this. I said it in sort of a jokey way, kind of, I would think anyway. I meant in my head, I'm like, that's the empathetic line. Like, oh, we're being kind of silly here. Like, oh, will there be tingling sensations? I prefer my electrocutions coupled by an intense feeling of burning, like being kind of funny. And then for the one that was apparently meant to be empathetic, and on the stream when because I liked how I read that line, I'm like, I'm picking that line, haha. And that one, the thing is, I can't quite recall if choosing that actually gives you the personality point for assertive. It might have, because that's why in the chat, the developer was like, oh, we actually meant that one to be the empathetic line. But you read it in a way, like we meant to, like she's joking around with the worker, but you read it in kind of a sarcastic way, and I like that take better when you did that. Because that one that was just electrocution, that's funny. So when will you have this fixed? I read it like, electrocution, that's funny. So when will you have this fixed? Like, just, I'm over it. Like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, okay, when can I go in? I got homicide to solve. Like, just very over it. And he's like, he liked that. So I was like, oh, great. So that was kind of fun. And I actually really appreciated the fact that they didn't have the, this one is assertive, which I think it paid off because it made it sound a little more natural, in my opinion. Because the thing I didn't want to have happen is all the vanilla lines, so to speak, sound kind of boring. And all the, like, logical ones sound kind of boring as well. Like, they go with the vanilla personality, and the assertive ones sound like, can I speak to the manager? And the empathetic ones just sound like, you guys, I'm going to cry. Like, that just doesn't sound like the same person. Because for most of the game, you can choose between these paths, You're not locked in until a certain point in the game. And that's when it starts, like, autofilling, based on your set personality at that point. So it was a challenge, but I did each line 2 to 3, sometimes 4 times, depending on what it was. So for some of the lines where I wasn't certain how, like, is this supposed to be like, oh, we're having like a little joke, or is this supposed to be like, I'm a sarcastic like jerk right now? I don't know. Like, I would do multiple takes on it to kind of let them choose. And yeah, it was just kind of interesting, I guess, to see how it all played out, because I think, anyway, I'm biased as hell, but I think it flowed well. I don't listen to it and cringe, because I'm I feel like everyone, when they create stuff, can be critical about their own creations. Sometimes I feel like, this might be a weird analogy, hopefully you get what I'm trying to say with this. Like those old clips where you've seen like a boxer or something, like sitting in a room, like watching the black and white flickering footage of themselves over and over, like analyzing their moves like that. That's like me with anything when it comes out. I'm just like, oh God, all right. Devour and dissect and self-criticize. But like, I think for the most part, it worked. And I was actually glad that there was a fair amount of freedom in the interpretation. So it wasn't like a very cartoony take on like, I'm being assertive. It just sounded like a person emoting.
Very natural, yes.
Yeah, getting the emotion across.
It's a brilliant analogy for the creative type, because the analogy of watching yourself get beat to hell is kind of what it feels like to listen back to your own stuff sometimes. Like you're beating yourself up. I like that a lot. That's great.
The other thing I wanted to say about that, when you said the personality paths, it made me think of, you ever play the Wolf Among Us, the Telltale games? Honestly, look it up on YouTube. This infamous scene in it where you are at a bar in the game and you like play as Big B Wolf, like the sheriff, and you have like the woodsman there. He's like your sworn enemy, but you feel kind of bad for him in this moment, and you're in this like shady bar and he's talking about how depressed he is, and your options there are like, say nothing, say like something mean, say something that's, and then one option just says glass him. And there's this infamous playthrough where someone who doesn't know what that means, glass him, goes, oh, glass him? Oh yeah, let's buy him a drink.
Oh no.
You like he just picks up the glass and just throws it in his face, and the guy freaks out on the stream like, dude, it's like, oh, it's horrible. So I don't think there are any glass him moments in Whispers, which was nice. That was good. I didn't feel like there's anything jarring in it, really. I mean, unless you like purposely want to just take her personality 180, which does sound like a fun way to play, quite honestly. But I feel like the way it was written also kind of everything sort of made sense that this is one person who contains multitudes in different situations if you choose to play her that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you've kind of done that before, if didn't you play all of the females in the Renzo Racer game? Like, how do you differentiate yourself when you're like 4 completely different characters in one game and the only female characters?
Oh man, well that game was funny because that's like a VR/PC like Mario Kart style racer game where it's all a bunch of animal characters. So I'm all 4 female characters in it, but because that one is like anthropomorphic little like bunnies and skunks and foxes and stuff, it's all different cartoony voices. So for me, when I'm allowed to be like animation little kid style, like full on like cartoony, it's like that's when you can do like really crazy stuff. I think it's harder to do stuff like that in games like in Unavowed and Lamplight City. I also voice 4 female characters in each of those. Lamplight was definitely the hardest because, at least in Unavowed, one of them's a dragon. So it's like, done. Dragon's not going to sound like anybody else. Like, that's different. One's a ghost from Staten Island. Like, she's got her own thing going on. Like, you know. So there was enough, one's a bit older and the other one's a bit younger. Great. They all sound like different people. Lamplight was harder just because it's like, all right, these are like 4 different women in the same town in the same time period. Okay. So that was an interesting thing where then you have to look at stuff like almost like making up little backstories for these characters if you aren't given one. Like, well, are they high status in society or low status? Where were they from originally? You know what I mean? Like, what are their takes on this? Like, you kind of have to develop their personality, and from around that, different speech patterns develop. Because even when the voice itself, like the actual tone or pitch, is a bit similar, there'll be giveaways kind of in how quickly they speak, how slowly they speak. You know, were they, like I was saying before, like, are they born into high society, low society? Like, two of the characters I voiced in that game, one is a botanist. So she's like a student. She's born into like kind of a rich family. She's very smart, but a bit cold, a little snooty. Like she's kind of weird. So she speaks differently, even though she's a young woman, just like another young woman I voiced in that game named Ruby, who is a prostitute. And she's kind of like, you know, from the streets a bit lower class, a bit more like sort of casual in her speech. So even if like the pitch is similar, they don't sound like the same person, I hope. That's what I was trying for anyway. When you come in with all those background details, it helps inform, like, it's even if it's the same person, it's a different performance. Like if you've ever heard or seen Bob's Burgers or Archer, it's the same guy, H. John Benjamin. You know, it's the same voice, but those are 2 very different characters. And I feel like if you could hear a clip of each of those characters, like, you know, details of talking about burgers or secret agent stuff aside, I feel like you'd be able to tell, like, which character he's portraying. So,
right.
I'm not saying I'm as good as him, but, you know, it's the same mentality there, where, you know, you're one person.
Well, I hear a little switch.
Was that?
When you start switching into character, all of a sudden you sound different, and like there's this little click that happens when you go into it. It's actually really cool to hear.
Oh, thanks.
What about, I mean, do you only do voiceovers, or do you also do like script writing or editing, other types of projects?
I'm a writer as well. I'm a copywriter professionally, and I've written for different magazines and things. I used to write for Epicurious.com. I've written for Lucky Magazine when that was a thing. So yeah, I have a second life with that. You know, I write a lot of fiction for fun and poetry, that kind of thing. I do professionally, I also do copywriting, like for ads and commercials and branded videos and stuff like that, which has been helpful because I do commercial voiceover as well. So it's like very good to be on both sides of that, where it's like I'm not only the voiceover skills help inform my copywriting skills, and the copywriting skills help inform the voiceover skills. And then for Global Game Jam this past January, I actually wrote my first game, which was really exciting. I made a little narrative game with my boyfriend Aaron Zemek, Francisco Gonzalez, our friend Gotham, and our friend Ruthie as well. And we put together this little game about a dad deer and his daughter, who's like a doe. We made this in 48 hours with no sleep. It was really fun. Where I voiced the daughter, Francisco voices my dad, and he did the art for it as well. And I wrote I designed the narrative tree for that because it's like a branching tree and stuff like that on a series of Post-its in my pajamas at like 11 p.m.
Series of Post-its.
Yeah, like there was a Post-it tree. I couldn't figure out how to do this. And I was like, Post-its. I just like laid out everything and because everyone's working on their individual pieces for the jam. I'm just like, let me have this wall in 2 hours, please. And just kind of playing out the narrative tree and then wrote most of the actual dialogue with some additional deer puns from Francisco and Aaron. And that was really fun. And it was like this cool little thing we made. And I didn't expect that after we made it, this YouTube gaming channel called Alpha Beta Gamer, I think it's called. They play a lot of like free stuff on itch and stuff like that. They played our game and it had like almost 30,000 views on YouTube and all these comments on it. And everyone was saying like, this game feels so cozy. This game feels like home. The writing's actually really good. The art's actually really, I love the actually, because it's like a free game on itch that we made in like a weekend. It's like, this is actually good. But all these people said all these nice things about the script and stuff. I was like, this is great. So I would love to write more games. I definitely want to do more of that. Because, you know, when I'm doing my voiceover stuff, you know, it's good when they let you have some control over script in terms of like not being married to what's written on the page. Like if that doesn't sound natural out loud or like just, you know what I mean? Like when they allow you to kind of play with it. So there have been some
always
projects.
the same.
What was that?
When it's written down or when it's written down and then you say it out loud, you'll have a completely different point of view on it, you know? So
yeah,
it's nice
exactly.
that they do let you have your take. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So there have been some projects, more than others, where, you know, even for just like built into sort of the working process, it's like, all right, I'm going to kind of rework the script and then I'll record it. Cool. And it's fun when I get to do that.
I like the visual of you up at 3 a.m. with Post-it notes. I imagine like there's some red string and thumbtacks, you know what I mean?
Oh my God. That was me when I played Obra Dinn. It was 3 a.m. with Post-its and red string.
Nice.
God. But who was the bosun's mate? God, that game. I love that game. That gave me such a headache. I loved it so much. Best headache of my life.
The deer game, was that, could we find that on like Adventure Game Studio?
Aaron made it in Game Maker, I think. He was the programmer for it, but it's on itch.
On itch, okay.
Yeah, and it's called Deer in the Headlights is what it's called. Deer in the Headlights. So it's a free little game. It's got 6 different endings. It'll take you 5 minutes to unlock all of them. It's fun. Buy us to sell. It's fun, but yeah.
So what about accents? Have you done any accents besides like, you know, besides like a extreme New York accent, which maybe becomes a little more natural to you? Have you done any accents?
My Long Island accent. Trying to think, not really in any projects. I have like accents are one of those things that's like, all right, if I have enough time to kind of figure out what I'm doing here, we can make something work. But I would say as far as my accents go, I'm more confident in them for like a cartoony standpoint as opposed to like believable.
So poetry, you do poetry too. Do you do poetry commercially or just, as a hobby?
Just as a hobby. You know, I've been writing since I was like a little kid. So just for fun, personal poems, that kind of thing. I've written a lot of short stories and things like that. But yeah. Yeah, my boyfriend also, he makes a lot of music, and so he writes songs. He's written plays and things like that. So he entered this contest, or not a contest, it's more like a workshop, but he had to apply for the workshop. That was this musical theater writing workshop, and in it he had to write 3 different songs for it, and one of the songs he had to write was like a ballad, or a duet rather, I think. So he's like, do you want to sing it with me? I was like, yeah. And I helped him with some of the lyrics on it, so it was really fun to help write it with him. And what made it extra fun is that I've actually never played this game, and I need to, but he has, and he loved it. It was inspired by Firewatch, so we did a Firewatch-inspired duet together, which was really fun. So it seems like it would be a fun thing to maybe try to write more songs with him. I can't write music, but I can write lyrics, so could be kind of a fun thing.
It sounds bloody adorable.
That's cute. Yeah. What a creative duo you two are, it sounds like, actually.
Yeah, we want to make more games together and things like that, which is fun. But he doesn't have any voiceover aspirations. But I know if I wrote something and needed him to be in it, he would be in it. So
you probably
He's
need a
gonna
bigger
learn.
closet.
Right, exactly. Just shove him in the closet, tell him he can't come out until we got something usable. It'll work. We'll do it.
You could give him his own closet.
Because I already took his. Yeah. I don't know if I was saying it earlier, but I'm staying with him right now because quarantine reasons. So I literally took over his closet, and when I'm in here to record stuff, generally I take all the couch cushions off the couch and pile them up in here to have better insulation. So like the poor man, he invited me into his home, and I took his closet and his couch. So. It's a lot, but...
And he's got to hear about those bloody lemons all the time.
Oh, yes. Nice big lemon.
Oh, nice big lemon. I think that's going to be a thing now. Everybody that hears this podcast and that hasn't played your games is now going to play the games and start saying it. So
yeah,
great.
Give me whispers and get me right to that lemon tree.
You've certainly been busy. I was checking out God School and watching that. It's cool how it's like a Greek mythology brought into the future. There's like almost 5 million views on the first one.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And what's insane about that show, it's one guy who animated and designed the whole thing. One guy, and he's like 21.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's like this animation student from France. He's incredible. And he got a grant from the French government as well, which is like awesome. This is passion project, and he's just like making it work. So all the comments on it are like, why is there only one episode a year? And it's like, because he's busy. Be grateful. Like, this guy's amazing. He's putting together his whole Disney quality animated show. It's insane. I think I recorded the 3rd episode for that last month, I think. So probably hopefully that'll be out like end of the year, or by this time next year. Definitely, I think this time next year. But yeah, that show's really fun.
Wow, very cool. And then now you've been out there with the Nancy Drew games. You've made affiliate on Twitch. I mean, is it just because, like, is this what you were doing anyways? You were just sitting at home when you had some time off and you'd play the Nancy Drew games, and then you're like, hang on, I should just like start doing this and doing voices and doing this for other people, because you probably found it fun, right? Or
yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to get back into Twitch because I'd done it when I say sporadically, I mean like 5 times in a calendar year. Like a bunch of years ago, I tried it. I didn't really know what I was doing. I'm bad at setting up the deck stuff. And then when Whispers came out, I decided my first playthrough ever, I was going to live stream it on Twitch. I was like, this will be fun. So I did it. That was a year ago. It was really fun. And I was like, wow, I should stream more. And then never did. And then, being stuck at home happened. And I was like, wow, now I have time. And the 1-year anniversary of Whispers was coming up. So I was like, I'm going to stream it again. And I did. And it was really fun. And I got way bigger of a response than I expected. And it was just really fun to do. So I was like, gee, I wonder what happens if I stream stuff I'm not in. Will people stick around? And they did. So that was a nice surprise. And I was kind of shocked that I made affiliate within like a week, which is like the minimum one can make it in. So that was kind of nuts. But it was really fun. And since that happened, I've been trying to stream maybe like 4 or 5 times a week. And just playing various adventure games and things like that. Because that's what I like to play anyway. And it's fun because it's kind of, encouraging me to play stuff that's been sitting in my Steam library untouched for years. It's just like, you know what? We're doing this today. And
Nice.
and it's fun when people are kind of like playing along with you and things like that. So it's been cool.
Speaking of adventure games, just on a personal note, could you tell us like some of your favorite adventure games besides the aforementioned ones that you might have been in, may or may not have been in? Do you have any, like, what are some of your favorite classics?
Well, for me, like, I don't know how old everyone is. I don't want to show my age too badly. For me, the classic stuff is what I played as a kid, which was mostly like Nancy Drew games and things like that. When I was like 10 or so, that's when I played, or maybe like 9, probably 9. I don't know, like 9 or 10 was probably when I played my first Nancy Drew game, which was Secret of the Scarlet Hand, and it scared the hell out of me. It was really hard, and it really scared me at the end. And then I really liked it. So then I played like a ton more. So I was kind of like the first ones I played, and I was sort of obsessed with those games. That's like what got me into wanting to do voiceover, because they were just really interesting. And I would like literally mute the volume on it and then like time myself saying the lines like when the text was on the screen, because I was a very cool and outgoing kid. So like I did that a lot, and that was really fun for me. And then I kind of stopped playing them for a bit. And then when I went to college, my roommate and I were talking about stuff, and she like quoted a Nancy Drew randomly, and I was like, I'm sorry, what did you just say? We kind of like bonded over that. She's like, wait, they still make them? I'm like, no way. So like she and I would like marathon them and play them together. And then I met my ex boyfriend at the time, and I told him I used to love these games, all the stuff. He's just like, oh, well, you've ever played like the Watch It games? I'm like, no. He was like, Telltale? I'm like, what's that? So he introduced me into all of that stuff. And I played a bunch of the Blackwell games, and I really liked those. I played a bunch of the Telltale stuff, which was awesome. I eventually played stuff like Siberia and Broken Sword, like the more classics, which I did not grow up with, but I enjoyed playing them several years later, so that was fun for me. And now on Twitch, I just finished Gemini Rue the other night, which I loved, but the combat was so hard. Oh god, it was so hard. So I really liked the story, but there's a really tricky combat in it. It's not going well for me. So like, oh god, it was bad. I had the Benny Hill theme playing for most of the combat sections. Anytime it would happen, wait guys, wait, and I cue it up, and then I do that, and then once I'd finally like defeat the guy, or rather get shot, like, and just die in it, I would play the Overwatch play of the game music. So like it was a mess. But I really enjoyed that one. So I'm kind of like going through the back catalogs of a lot of people whose work I admire, but I just have not played a lot of the old games. Oh wait, although I forgot to say, I freaking love the Shiva. That's an incredible game.
Yes,
not to just solely plug all my friends' works here, but I'm not involved with that game at all. But that's a really cool game. I'm very glad that game exists. It's very
that's
good,
a lot of fun. I think only the Jews talking have played that game, I guess.
Oh, it's so good. It's fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
I played it with my boyfriend. I was just like, it'll take you like an afternoon. Let's play it together. We're done. I was like, what'd you think? He's like, I'm really fascinated and glad this exists. I'm like, yes, same. That's our thoughts on that. It's just such a good thing that it exists. But yeah.
Well, I've got one more question myself. So I've not been really blending too much besides the game stuff related, again, title of the podcast, etc. But have you noticed, is there a difference in recording for, television shows, etc. to video games? Is there like a difference in approach or professionalism or anything like that?
I mean, stuff I've done, I've only done, like dubbing to picture a couple of times, like for TV stuff. And that, from my experience, was the biggest difference, is that when I did like an animated TV pilot for something, and when I recorded that, they had me dubbing to picture. So basically, they already had the storyboards done, they're kind of moving. I was also fortunate that everybody else in the episode had recorded already. I was the last one to do it. I was one of the main characters in it, so like all their performances were in already, so I had that to work off of, which I'd never had before. So that felt very as natural as it can be when you're voicing a 9-year-old fox boy, but like it felt natural to kind of like be in the scene, and that was also fun. Because I've done like I was saying before, for all the Whispers Wallace stuff, I've done for many games, like give like a short grunt, a large grunt, you're falling, you're dying, you're this, you're that, like all the sound effects and things like that. When I recorded for this TV thing, because it's a kid show also, there are spaces in it where it's not a lot of dialogue, it's just a lot of things happening on screen. So in that episode, for example, the thing I recorded, all the little kids in it, they were like running around this town, like trying to find this thing. So the director literally told me, he's like, okay, what I want you to do is just watch the footage, like on the screen, the monitor in the booth, of all the kids like running around doing stuff. He's like, you're going to notice that they like run here, stop, run here, stop. And then they see like the monster or whatever, gets scared by it. Give me some noises for that, react to the monster, run away. You're going to notice your character like trips and then does like a flip, hits his head on like the vehicle before he like lands and then jumps in it or whatever. I was like, okay. So for that was like a really cool experience because, it's already done basically. So we just hit play and like, they do this thing with like these beeps where it's like, I'm going to beep you in, just like these 3 tones. So, that's when your cue, when you should start for certain lines. So, he just kind of hit play on the footage and I'm just watching it and like panting and reacting and making like noises and grunts and like, stuff in real time and things like that. It was also very cool to watch that come together because everyone else had recorded already. So like I'm watching it. It's like it's coming out of my mouth, but it looks like it's already done sound wise. You know what I mean? Like so that was a cool thing. Like I've never had that happen with any game stuff before, just because it's like, they take the files and then put them in over the stuff. With this, it's like this is in like real time basically, with dubbing it to pictures. That was a very cool experience that I had not had with games before.
Wow. Well, you're really kind of at the forefront. You're doing all these VR games. I think you even did a horror VR game a few years ago, Oregon Quarter. What's it like doing a horror game for VR specifically? Is it any different than like a regular game?
Well, I'll tell you this. I will never play it because I'm too scared. So there's that. I've seen some playthroughs of it. It's very spoopy. Because my boyfriend has a VR set now. He just got it and he's like, oh, we could play like the Renzo Racer and Oregon Quarter. I'm like, you can play Oregon Quarter. Like, I'm not doing that. Never. What I recorded for that, just because I'm like an NPC in that one, it was no different. Just because you encounter her in the game like 3 times or so, and she just gives this like creepy little monologue about like wanting to steal your skin, but then like flirts with you and then like cries. It's very uncomfortable. So from what I've seen in the playthrough, it was just that I like just my parts because I'm too scared to watch the rest. From what I've seen on it, the only thing that was interesting about it is the bit of the like effects they put on it echo wise. So if you approach her from different sides, the sounds, you know what I mean? Like you're approaching her from certain angles and things like that. It's not quite as like static, if that makes sense. Even though I recorded it in my closet, as always. Like it didn't sound like recorded in a closet. It sounds like you're in this creepy, I don't even know where this game takes place. It looks like the inside of someone's stomach. It's very gross and very cool and too scary for me. It's just this gross. It's like a cavernous thing when everything's pulsating. I don't know. Sounds like you're there. Not in my closet.
I think you've just intrigued at least a good percentage of the audience here. They're like, that sounds awesome.
I'm sure it is. I've heard it's very good.
You had me at pulsating.
Exactly.
Oh, God. Yeah, no.
All right. Well, I think that's about all the time we've got. Before we close out, though, is there any like websites or projects or anything you'd like to direct our listeners towards?
I mean, the only thing I can think of really, is a game called Nighthawks, which is being published by Watch Jedi Games and is being written and developed by Richard Cobbett, who did Sunless Seas, Sunless Skies, and among other things. It's an awesome vampire RPG. That just dropped a teaser, which is exciting. I'm in the demo for that, and we'll be in the full game for that, which won't be out till sometime next year, I believe, because we have not even recorded anything yet. But it's happening, and the Steam page and the teaser just became live for that like a week or so ago, which is super exciting. But yeah, that's going to be a really fun one. I'm a vampire magician companion character in that game called Madame Lux. So that's going to be fun. Yeah. And I think as far as links go and stuff like that, I mean, I'm actually working on my website this week. Haha. In the meanwhile, though, I'm just on Twitter at SpaceCampGF. And at the end of the month, in May, I will be speaking at Narrascope, which is now a free online conference, which is exciting, all about voice acting and narrative games. So if you are a developer who's, kind of curious about adding voiceover to your projects, but don't really know where to start, what to do, what not to do, that kind of thing, I'm hoping this talk will be sort of like a good overview on that. Yeah, and I believe that should be live after the fact too. I think Narrascope's going to have everything on their website. So, yeah, that's that.
Awesome. That's lovely to check out. I definitely can't wait to see Wedge Eye's first non-adventure game. I think I backed that project a while ago, so I'm glad you mentioned the video dropped. or go check that out. Well, in the meantime, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. To our listeners, thanks for listening with your ear holes. It was really nice of you to do that too. Very good, boys and girls. And check out, sorry, I wasn't supposed to be patronizing if it sounded it. Check out Unavowed and Lamplight City and bloody Whispers of a Machine and all that stuff. Get it stuck in your brains and, don't do a murder.